This coffee mug costs $29. This coffee mug costs $35.
And this coffee mug only costs $7 at Walmart. And it even has a handle.
In this week's video, we're going to show you,
By using science and the scientific method,
if high-end coffee mugs like Yeti and Zojirushi can truly justify their price and keep your coffee warmer than the $7 Walmart competitor.
Welcome to the Homeschool Science Club.
In this week's video, we're going to be putting 8 coffee mugs to the test to see which one can keep your coffee the warmest the longest. We will be comparing small Yetis to big Yetis to plastic Tervises to stainless steel Tervises to even high-end Japanese Zojirushi brands and see how they all stack up to the $7 Walmart mug. And trust me, based on our graph of results, we have a clear winner, a clear loser, and I'm pretty sure it's not who you think it's going to be. So you're going to want to stick around to the end to see those results. Let's meet our first round of contestants. To start off, we have the classic stainless steel, vacuum sealed, double walled 20-ounce Yeti tumbler that is made from kitchen grade stainless steel. And if you know what kitchen grade stainless steel is, leave a message in the comments. Yetis have become extremely popular over the last decade and synonymous with keeping your drinks cold or warm for long periods of time. Next up in the competition, we have the Zojirushi brand thermos. Zojirushi, if you're not familiar with the brand, is a Japanese company that has been making vacuum-sealed cups since 1923. We have a Zojirushi brand water warmer that my wife picked up when she was in Japan. And on a recent family trip, we actually picked up this Zojirushi thermos on a slightly less authentic Japanese encounter at the Japan Center at Epcot in Walt Disney World. Zojirushis have a 2-step lid release that prevents excess condensation on the stopper, a safety lock to prevent the lid from opening accidentally, and their website states it's made with special manufacturing technique that was used to round the bottle opening, making it smooth and comfortable to the touch when cleaning. So smooth. It also has a 4cm wide mouth for those that have big mouths. Don't you even think about it. They're sold all over Japan, Epcot, and you can also buy them on Amazon, and right now this, like the Yeti, is going for about $30, which is much cheaper than going to Japan. Next up in the competition, we have the Tervis. Now in their defense, they don't advertise as being able to keep your drinks cold or hot for an extremely long period of time. But they're a great company that has an excellent zero waste goal, and they're everywhere, so we're going to include them in the demonstration. You'll also notice on mine the logo of where I went to college for my chemistry and medical degrees, East Carolina University, also more commonly known as the Harvard of the South. And now for the final contestant, we have the Tao Mountaineer 20-ounce tumbler with handle purchased at Walmart for $7.99. It also is double-walled and insulated and promises to keep your coffee warm for 8 hours. As we set up our experiment, you might be wondering to yourself, why is a homeschool science channel doing coffee mug reviews? And that's a great question, and there's 2 answers to that. Deep down, I believe teaching your kids science is about getting them to ask questions and obtaining data to get their answers. And this was an excellent opportunity to introduce them again to the scientific method. And number 2, Americans love coffee, and I'm going to get back to that point in a few minutes. Now it was time to get started with our experiment. The first 2 steps of the scientific method are to make an observation and to ask a question. Our observation was some of our coffee mugs do a better job of keeping our coffee warmer than others, so naturally our question was, which coffee mug is the best and how do we prove it? And somewhat to be expected, both my kids went about solving this problem in their own unique way.
Let me just do this the kid way. Meeny, miny, miny, mo.
So I have to interrupt right here because inexplicably my son's eeny, meeny, miny, mo method would somehow actually choose the coffee mug that ended up winning the competition. So to avoid spoilers, we're going to skip ahead. And I also said earlier that we're revisiting the scientific method. We made our first scientific method experiment last year when we did our Coke Mentos experiment. You should check that out because I go into more details about the scientific method in a way that only a $4.50 budget can do. That video also has a worksheet that is free to download on our website, homeschoolscienceclub.com, if you so desire. My daughter actually had a much more scientific approach, and because we didn't know the eeny, meeny, miny, mo method would ultimately be right, we ended up going with her method.
we fill these up with warm water. Over the course of maybe a couple hours, we stick a thermometer in there, see which one is the hottest, the longest.
So since my kitchen thermometer died a few weeks ago, it was a good time to buy this 4-probe meat thermometer from Amazon, and now it was time to make our coffee. Because we were going to be measuring cups of different sizes, we decided to fill each one to 80% of its capacity to keep it even across the board. At this point, we had our experiment set up, the coffee had been made and poured, and it was time to get started and start measuring temperatures. And as the demonstration progressed, we began to work on our line chart that would ultimately display all of our results. In our first round, we had the classic 20-ounce Yeti going up against the plastic Tervis, next to the $7 Walmart mug, next to the 30-ounce Zojirushi. And just so we could have some kind of control for the experiment, I thought we would use just a regular coffee mug that everybody has around the house. Our choices were Wally and Lady and the Tramp. And I figured the Tramp could help us out. So for round 2, we have our large stainless steel Yeti going up against the large stainless steel Tervis, which is also going up against the tiny Yeti.
I like to call this one Baby Yeti.
I like to call it child.
And last but not least, we have our control group, the Tramp. For both rounds of experiments, we collected temperature readings every 15 minutes and logged them in our sheets. And then, to really make this a homeschool lesson, even though we talked about the scientific method, I used this time to continue our work on being able to create graphs and interpret data for my daughter's homeschooling. So with all the results in, it was clear that we had a winner and a loser. And before I talk about the results, I want to revisit the idea of Americans loving coffee that I mentioned earlier. The United States imports more than $4 billion worth of coffee every year. We consume 400 million cups of coffee a day. That's 146 billion cups of coffee every year. And not to name names, there are certain coffee companies that allow you to have the exact cup of coffee that you want. Can I have a half cap triple venti mocha frappa yaya?
Cash out that total free up at the window.
So if you were to do something as simple as having a reusable cup, that can have a significant impact on reducing the waste in our planet. If you're having trouble visualizing what's going to happen if we don't change our waste habits, a few years ago Pixar gave us an awfully cute but devastatingly painful glimpse into the future of what our planet will look like and what we will turn into. So after you've seen the results of the experiment, if there's a coffee mug in this video that you think will work for you and your family, there will be a link for it in the description below. And any proceeds made from the purchases from those links will be donated to nonprofits dedicated to keeping our earth clean and beautiful. And without further ado, let's look at the results. So here we have our final results graph. Our control mug, the Tramp, had already dropped to just below 140 degrees at the time of the first reading, and at the 2-hour mark was already down to just over 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Coming in 7th place was the plastic Tervis. While not a strong finish, it was still able to stay pretty close to 110 degrees Fahrenheit at the 2-hour mark. But don't worry, the stainless steel Tervis totally redeemed itself and easily kept up with its competitors. And the next 2 points I want to make is where it really gets interesting when you're looking at the results. In spite of the price difference, again, ranging from the $7.99 Walmart to the $35 Yeti, they all finished up in pretty much the same place. In fact, both the 20-ounce Yeti and the $7 Walmart mug both finished up at 150 degrees Fahrenheit at the 2-hour mark. That's crazy. You can buy 4 of these for the price of these, and at 2 hours, it's going to be the same. The other point I want to make is that the previous point does not include the Zojirushi. It totally dominated the competition. Let's look at these results. Again, our control mug at 2 hours went down 40%. Our East Carolina plastic Yeti went down 33%. Coincidentally, that's also what happened to their football program when they fired Ruffin McNeil. Our next up was Baby Yeti, who went down 23%, followed by our Harry Potter themed silver Tervis that only went down 17%. Again, this is where it gets interesting because look at the percentage drops in the next mugs and think about the price difference between all of them. Again, we have the $35 stainless steel Tervis at 17% and the $7.99 Walmart thermos that dropped also only 17%. This was followed by the 2 stainless steel Yetis. And while they both dropped a little bit less than temperature, it was only by 1 percentage point. And in statistics, they would likely say that's not statistically significant. And this, of course, would lead us with our champion, the Zojirushi, with only a 9% drop. It started off at 171 degrees Fahrenheit, and 2 hours later, the temperature of the coffee inside was still 160 degrees. Oh, that's super warm. I don't know if you want to try it or not. Of course, the scientist in me always wants me to double check my work to make sure that nothing was a fluke, so I set up our top 3 performers again and even added another stainless steel mug that my work gave me a few months ago for free just to see how it would compare. And with that experiment ongoing, I want to give you a sneak peek into next week's video. We're going to show you how to make your own petri dishes and grow your own bacteria, and how by using just a laser pointer, you'll be able to turn any wall in your house into a microscope so you can see the tiny microscopic particles floating by in any water like your dog bowl, toilet bowl, or your faucet. It's an excellent lesson for your kids considering they've been given a crash course in microbiology and virology because of the coronavirus and having to study things that are too small for them to see with their own eyes. So be sure and hit that subscribe button below so you'll know when that video is released. Alright, now back to see if our initial results stand up to repeat testing. And they did, so much so that I stopped the experiment early because as you can see, the Zojirushi is still the only one with temperatures in the 160s while everyone else has dropped into the 150s. So our data would suggest if you absolutely have to have your liquids be as warm as possible for as long as possible, then get you a Zojirushi. If good enough is good for you, then don't worry about the price, because if they're stainless steel and vacuum sealed, then it sounds like anything will be fine. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to walk around looking like they shop at Walmart, then my suggestion for you is to just put some stickers on it and customize it, and no one will be any wiser.
Let me just do this the kid way. Meeny, miny, miny. Mo!
Oh, you think that one's the best? Why do you think that one's the best?